my eyes have cited an interesting little article where it's talking about how members of the European Parliament voted for more online safety for children and underage people. So it's worth noting that so far nothing real has happened yet. It is a non-legislative report, basically meaning that they put the idea out there and the vote was in favor. In fact, the vote was in favor. So basically the people have it on their radar now, but there hasn't been anything concrete. Now, what I want to talk about is what the article also mentions, what this might entail, because it's not just talking about social media, it's also talking about gambling mechanics in video games, like gacha pulls, skin rerolls, and stuff like that. Things that might cost a lot of young people a lot of money if they lose themselves in that. Now, what I also want to talk about is how this won't happen. I like the approach. Don't get me wrong, I like the approach. I like that they want to protect children and want to make the online space safer for them. But that would lose gaming companies and social media companies a lot of money. They will never, ever, ever allow that. They will probably bend the rules so much and go into like gray zones and stuff like that to actually avoid the rules. Because this would mean a big loss. But let's just talk about it in more detail. Now, what this could entail, was what the article was talking about, is, for example, age verification. You do need to know who is underage and not if you want to do safety regulations for underage people. So you need to know who the heck is underage. And that, especially in the EU, with a lot of privacy concerns and how every country handles it differently, that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy. Now, that alone would probably take a while to implement. Now, imagine you have to do that for every single app. And then you probably need something like tags in the App Store or stuff like that that do specify what has adult content and what not. Because I would say, let's just say they prohibit gambling or nudity and stuff like that, or raunchy imagery or stuff like naughty imagery. They would probably need a tag for that as well. So the App Store would also need to do something, which also would take a lot of time and would also be a big process to do for existing apps. So I don't think that will be easy. I mean, technically they already have this kind of age system, but they would probably need to overwork it a bit depending on what goes through. Again, I don't think it will go through. I would like for it to go through, but this is such a difficult topic, especially because in the EU, again, a lot of different countries, a lot of different rules. Like every member handles things differently. Online safety, privacy, cookie settings, tracking, age verification, stuff like that. They all handle it differently. That's such a huge barrier to actually implement something that is concrete. Now, what the article also has been talking about is that would lead to design changes. It would just lead to design changes. You would probably need clear values for the rerolls, for example. If you try to go after gacha or gambling things, you would probably need age checks. You would probably need something like those labels, and that is just a huge barrier. That will probably cost a lot of money for smaller devs. Now, to be fair, defining gambling in itself in video games is a problem. Like, what do you define as gambling? Because if they don't technically make real money from it, from the stuff they can get, does it really count as gambling? I would say yes, because it gets you closer and it feels like gambling. It just feels like gambling. Gacha pulls are gambling. We don't have to talk about it. Even though it technically doesn't reward you any real life money, that's still gambling. That's still gambling. It just basically shows you the ropes of what gambling is. Everything is luck based, and technically, let's just say technically, if you were to sell your account, having higher leveled units, of course, would mean you could sell your account for more, which technically means you could make money from good pulls. I don't think they go that far, but that is a technicality. That is just straight up a technicality. But this is just gambling. This is just gambling in games. This is just like talking about gacha, talking about like gambling systems where you can draw skins or where you can get skins and stuff like that. That's not even talking about social media. Social media is another problem that they want to tackle, where they want to do, for example, a minimum age requirement. So basically, you need to have a minimum age to use social media. And honestly, this would be a good approach. I will be honest, the future generations are getting dumber. Let's just face it. I'm feeling how everyone is getting lazier and dumber. It's crazy. It's insane, because people, instead of spending their time studying and actually learning something, spend their time on social media scrolling infinitely. Having an age requirement for social media would be a very good thing. Or, for example, maybe trying to limit it based on age. Like, you don't need maybe to prohibit any and every contact with social media because it is important. But for example, limiting it for people who are below the age of 16. Let me give you a suggestion. For example, maybe from the ages 12 to 16, you are allowed to be 1 hour a day on social media. That is already not just a bit. That is already technically a lot, but it would be fine. Let's just say you could maybe make it so it shares it across all platforms. Maybe that would be an approach. If not, then maybe 30 minutes per app. I think that should be enough. Then from the ages 16 to 18, you're, for example, allowed to be an hour per app on the phone. And then from the ages 18, you are allowed to be whatever the fuck, however long you want to be on the fucking app. Even though that's also technically not that good, because restricting your social media contact is a good thing. Like, let's face it, social media most of the time doesn't really have that educational content that actually brings us farther in life. It's just for entertainment, which is important. Don't get me wrong. Entertainment is not important. But most of the time, it's not really helpful for your future. Like, let's face it. Let's just face it. Watching this video will not give you a bachelor's degree. I just don't think so. Okay? So yeah, they also want to restrict that, which would be crazy, honestly. Now, let me just read it up as well. Oh, they also want to go after engagement-based mechanics on social media, like infinite scroll thingies. So basically what I talked about with limiting time, they want to go after that as well, which I'm telling you now, the big apps won't allow that. The big companies like Instagram and Meta and TikTok, they will not allow that. They will not allow you to restrict their app usage. That is just the case. They will get around that. Now, to be fair, restricting it in general would be hard. Like, how do you do that? How do you implement that? Because people would just then go and put in a fake age instead of the real age, and then they wouldn't have any restrictions anymore, which is not the point of this whole thing. Now, again, the main points this article is talking about is they want to try to implement an EU-wide minimum age of 16 for social media. They want to ban engagement-based recommender systems for social media, for example, infinite scroll. They want to tackle gambling-like features in video games. And what they name it is a call for safety by design. Basically saying that they want to implement more age verification tools to actually get all these other systems to work properly, because without that you can throw everything else out of the window. But getting these age verification tools to work is already the hard part. EU-wide, that is just basically impossible. I don't want to say it's completely impossible, but it's just very hard. Because again, basically every country handles their fucking privacy differently. And I'm not saying like, oh my god, it's like 50 million different things. No, it's very small details and laws that makes it a headache. To implement. So yeah, I don't think we will see any real movement for that. I would like to see. Honestly, this is a good approach. This protecting the future generations from the influence of social media or from like the overflow of social media is a good thing. Like reducing their screen time on social media, protecting them from gambling-like mechanics, that is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, that is a good thing. I just don't think those companies will ever allow, because that would make them lose a lot of money. It would just straight up make them lose money. They would never allow that. They will try to wriggle their way through the system in any way, shape, or form to actually not be oppressed by these new laws. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about for today. Yeah, I would like the system to be implemented, or like at least kind of. I just don't think it will happen. But anyway, maybe I'll update you on all of this, because it is an interesting topic. But for now, it's just the EU has it now on their radar, but not really anything concrete has happened. And yeah, that's really it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Have a good day. Bye.